Well, what's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with week 2 of the GC Cup. It's the Sony Open this week. And what we're going to do is we will recap how we finished up last week, and we'll talk about where we currently stand in the standings, and then we'll look forward to what we are actually going to play for this week. So in that order, here is last week's lineup. A decent lineup that started out really hot. There was a time on Friday and a time on Saturday where this was a top 10 lineup, and it faded, the back nine on Saturday and then on Sunday. But what we went with was Cam Champ, Bryson DeChambeau, Rory, Patrick Reed, Brandt Snedeker, and Gary Woodland. If you remember correctly, we did a last-minute change, a last-minute swap. We originally had Webb Simpson and we had Aaron Wise in this lineup, and we swapped them last minute for Cameron Champ and Gary Woodland. Obviously a net positive there, considering Woodland finished second. He had 132 DraftKings points. He was, I'm sure he was the second highest scoring player in the tournament. So that was a net win. What we should have done, I don't know if the salary cap would have done it, would have been better to go with Woodland and Webb, who flew up the leaderboard on Sunday. But, you live and learn. We made the correct decision at the end. A couple of things. I'm very surprised about the ownership of Cameron Champ and Brandt Snedeker. Thought both those guys would be significantly higher. Snedeker was one of these situations that we see often in DFS where someone gets talked about so much from day one, from Monday morning, everyone is talking about him as being his absolute chalk, that by the time you actually get to making lineups, we've basically oversaturated him, and everyone just knows he's going to be super chalky, and they don't roster him at all. So that seems to be what happened with Snedeker, and I'm shocked that Champ, who was a DFS sweetheart, did not garner more ownership. So otherwise, it was a pretty solid lineup. We finished 58th out of 144. So if you remember, this is set up exactly like the PGA Tour FedEx Cup is, where if you make the cut, which is the top 70, you get points. So we made the cut, we made the weekend, for lack of a better term, in this type of contest, and we were awarded points, but nothing to really write home about. So here's the standings. Win at the top for Marahau, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then we are down here in 58th with 5.4 points. Half the field got 0, so we are at least on the positive side of that. So for this week, I'll show you my lineup here in a second, but if you want to dive deeper into the analysis a little bit, I did an entire DraftKings show, 20 minutes that was released on Monday for the Sony Open. I hopped on with Pat Mayo on his show on the DraftKings channel on Tuesday, so there is plenty of content of how I feel about some of these guys, so I don't think I need to dive deeper into it, so I'll just show you the lineup. And here's what we're going to go with. Justin Thomas at 11,400 leads the way for us. A couple of days ago on Monday, I would have said he is the absolute chalk, and I still think he's going to be pretty popular. But as I started to make lineups, I found it a little difficult to make solid lineups with Justin Thomas at 11.4. There's some decent names down bottom, which we had to roster, but it kind of gets ugly. I could see a lot of the casual fans, or maybe not so much in the GC Cup, but rostering players in a more balanced approach, because you can, stock up on like Paul Casey and Snedeker again and Charles Howe. You can kind of stock up on those guys. But we're going to go with JT. We're going to take him. I think he's just the absolute front runner. Abraham Answer is getting a little bit of chatter. I hope that he comes in underneath the radar. He's playing well. He's played well here in the past, coming off a win worldwide. And then Patton Kizzire, I don't usually roster a lot of defending champs, but played well last week, which you'll see. I think Answer is the only guy in this lineup who didn't play last week. So a big narrative around guys who are already in Hawaii, already playing there. If they played the Tournament of Champions, they're obviously, in the upper echelon of PGA Tour events. With this being such a weak field at the Sony Open, you're getting a lot of Web.com graduates. You're getting a lot of first timers. I'm going to bank on players who have actually played and won on the PGA Tour before, and most recently, in the last year. So if Answer's the only guy who did not play, he's coming off a win. All of these other guys have won in the past calendar year or in the past season because they played the Tournament of Champions last week. So Patton Kizzire fits that mold. He played well last week. I was pretty impressed. Kevin Tway Talked about this a little bit with Pat Mayo. Finished tied for 11th last week. If he would have charged up the leaderboard on Sunday, there would be a lot more hype about Kevin Tway. The fact that he was the first round leader and then faded to 11th kind of hurts his own, or, you know, it changes the narrative around him that he fell apart, but still a great showing. If he finishes T11 again this week, I'm thrilled. And then Putnam and Merritt are two guys to round out the lineup that, again, you know, Putnam's been putting the lights out. He played well last week again. And then Troy Merritt, you know, he's just someone that I really, quite honestly, needed to fill out this roster with. I had $7,000 left. I thought that in terms of the players in his price range, it is a lot of first-timers. It's a lot of web.com players. It's a lot of international players. He's the one with an actual resume. So if I had $7,000 to spend, I was willing to spend it on him. It's not someone that I'm super stoked about, but someone that I thought that could hold his own in this price range. So this is what I'm going with. Let me know what you think about this. Again, week 2, plenty of season left. We'll see where this goes. Tweet me. It's at DFS on demand, or leave a comment below. Good luck.